What happened after episode 2? A glitch could have revealed what happened right after episode 2's end, when they shared a photo where we can see all the circus members gathering in front of Kaufmo's box, and we can guess that this photo takes place right after the end of episode 2, which is right after his funeral. But we can see that Jax is also in the photo, and it seems like the circus members are all eating candy, which could be something that they brought from the Candy Canyon Kingdom, or maybe it was Kane's gift to them after they successfully completed the adventure, the same way they had the Last Supper style dinner, which was inspired from the Bible in the end of episode 1. And so maybe this picture is suggesting that although Jax didn't attend Kaufmo's funeral as we saw at the end of episode 2, because we literally saw him leave the circus members after he got a bit emotional, but maybe he went back to them after the funeral and Kane told them that he got them a surprise, and this is honestly not that surprising of Jax. It seems like he only cares about himself, and while him getting emotional can suggest that maybe he has some feelings, it can also be possible that he wasn't sad about Kaufmo, but maybe because of himself. And I'm thinking that after the circus members completed their adventure, we saw how Jax managed to cause even more harm after he left the gate of the kingdom open and let the chocolate fudge monster enter into the kingdom so that the chocolate fudge monster could literally eat the candy people. And we saw that when he realized this, he smiled. However, just imagine how many adventures do you think Jax has already gone on since he joined the digital circus? How do these pranks not feel old to him after this long? We also saw how he was bored during the whole adventure and he was complaining about the lack of violence. So what if at the end of the episode we saw him getting a bit sad because his tolerance keeps getting higher and higher, and so maybe he's not going to be satisfied after whatever he does on the adventures by trying to cause chaos or panic. But looking at the other characters, they seem normal and their usual selves. However, if we zoom in a bit on the photo, we can see that Palmley is putting up Gummy Goo's picture next to Kaufmo's, and it shows how much Palmley really cared about Gummy Goo after he opened up to her. And it's interesting that Gummy Goo and the other two alligators were introduced by Kane as the villains of episode 2 who stole the maple syrup from the Candy Kingdom, and still, after Gummy Goo and Palmley fell down to the back rooms together, they realized that after all, they're not that different except for maybe sentient consciousness, and we did find out that Gummy Goo is an advanced NPC, and it was actually Kane who created him to be the way he was, with his memories and even his mom. He couldn't even remember his mom's face because that memory wasn't important to the adventure. And this really makes me think, what if Kane created him this way so that he will have more impact on the circus members? Or maybe this whole adventure was planned out by Kane, and maybe he knew in advance that he wants Gummy Goo to talk to Palmley and make her feel understood. However, if this is the case, then it might be a little bit cruel that after the adventure, Kane just killed Gummy Goo without even giving a second thought to Palmley's feelings. However, we do know that Kane is not written to be evil. He seems to be an AI and just can't process feelings. And that's why sometimes his supposed good intentions turn out to be not so good for the circus members. A very famous saying is the road to hell is paved with good intentions. But seeing Palmley putting up Gummy Goo's picture in secret, or at least that's what it seems to be, shows that Gummy Goo meant a lot to her. And even though the other circus members only hold funerals for those who abstracted, Palmley is still new and she has to learn to adjust to how things go in the circus. And that's probably why the others aren't really arguing with her and are giving her a lot of leniency no matter what. Maybe not Jax per se, but if you look at how calm and how forgiving Ragatha is to Palmley, it's insane. And it's very admirable to see this. And most of them are being nice to Palmley. And it seems like they're letting her do her own thing, because maybe they also went through a similar process in the beginning. We can think this because of Kane's comment where he said, "I know you guys love your NPCs, but if I start losing track of who's a human and who's an NPC, who knows what could happen." And I'm thinking that this is most likely a reference that another circus member similarly got attached to an NPC, which actually could have been Ragatha, because when Kinger and Ragatha were talking at the top of the truck, Kinger said to Ragatha that he remembered how hard it was for Ragatha to get used to the circus. And so I think it is possible that the reason why Ragatha is this kind to Pomni is because she sees herself in Pomni, and maybe she didn't have a similar person to look out for her in her first few days in the circus. So now she wants to make sure that she's there for Pomni, and she makes Pomni feel safe. And this would also explain why she forgave Pomni super quickly after all that happened in episode 1. Ragatha might have had the same questions and doubts and fears as Pomni when she first spawned in, and she had to come up with a way to cope so she doesn't abstract. And since she seems like a naturally caring person, she maybe feels like it's her duty to take care of everyone in the circus, even if it means putting herself last. And while this is really generous, I'm a little bit worried for Ragatha. I think that if she only keeps repressing her real emotions and she doesn't say what she really means, it could end badly for her. And we saw in episode 1 that if she lets her mind run, she can actually start to go a little bit crazy. But I do hope that after episode 2's end, when Pomni realized that she can count on the other circus members through the portraying of her dream, maybe she will become more accepting towards Ragatha, and then they'll become better friends, where both of them feel comfortable to share their thoughts and feelings with each other, and that's what could keep them sane. And if episode 3 picks up a day after episode 2's events, I think that we'll see their friendship start to evolve. And if we're gonna see more about Pomni and Ragatha, then I think because episode 3 is gonna focus on Zubul and another character, that other character might not be Pomni, but could actually be Gangle, because Gooseworks and 2 of the voice actors from the show attended MomoCon, which is basically a convention for fans of animation shows, video games, and comics, where they had a panel for the Amazing Digital Circus, and the fans got to ask questions about the show. And one of the questions was about what are some things that the voice actors would love to see happening with some of the characters. And Alex Roshan, who is the voice actor for Kane, answered that he'd like to see Gangle go berserk. And to which Gooseworks' answer was, Gangle definitely goes somewhere, stay tuned for episode 4. And since until now we didn't get to see too much of Gangle, it would make sense if episode 3 would partly focus on her, because if by Gooseworks' comment she meant that Gangle is gonna abstract in episode 4, then I'm guessing that we'll get to see her character open up a bit more before then, which could be in episode 3. But if we believe that episode 3's adventure is gonna take place in the Haunted Mansion, then we can guess that episode 4's adventure could be in the Spudsy's fast food restaurant where we saw Jax in a uniform. And I'm thinking that episode 4 will probably focus around Jax, and I can only hope that Jax won't have anything to do with Gangle's abstraction if it happens. Because we saw how cruel Jax acted towards Gangle in both episode 1 and 2, where in episode 1 he was mostly physically hurting her. For example, when he pushed her over and stepped on her mask in the beginning of the episode, it was already broken and he shattered it into more pieces. And in episode 2, he was hurting her emotionally when he blackmailed her and pressured her to ram into the other's truck. So I think that if Gangle reaches her breaking point, it's possible that Jax could have a part in that. But maybe we'll be surprised and we'll actually see Jax's good side appear throughout the episode, if he has a good side, which I hope he does, because we saw him get a little bit emotional at the end of episode 2. I'm hoping that means that he has some good left in him. And it is also possible that Gooseworks didn't mean that Gangle will abstract. Maybe she'll get separated from the others on an adventure. I have no idea, but a lot's possible in the Amazing Digital Circus, so we'll have to wait and see. But let me know what you think about this picture down in the comments, or if I missed anything inside of it. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and click on this video here.